So today I'm going to talk about The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, and I'm going to talk about the animation, not the comic book.
Okay, let's go.
So if you haven't read the comic book yet, go and read it because it's such a good read. You know, it's an absolute classic. I think it's like Marmite though. You either love it or you hate it, and I absolutely love it. I've got it here in my hand. You know what I mean? Yeah, because it is that good. For me, it is one of the best portrayals of Batman out there. However, today I'd like to talk about the animated version of the comic book instead. If you haven't watched the movie yet, go and watch it because this is going to be what I liked about the movie rather than a movie review. It's just going to be what I liked and what I didn't like so much about it. So if you haven't already watched it, go and watch it.
All right, I get it!
In the beginning of the film, Batman or Bruce is sitting there watching TV, looking at the news, looking at all the crime that's going on in Gotham. And whilst watching, he starts to have like a PTSD or panic attack or flashback, whatever you want to call it. He starts having like a mental breakdown.
Criminals Gotham City has seen since the Joker.
Tonight's presentation of Tyrone Power in The Mark of Zorro. Killed in a senseless attack.
The assault and mutilation.
The terror.
And he's really reminding of his parents' death and or murder. And his inner psyche starts talking to him, telling him that he isn't good enough and that he's not strong enough and that he is a shell of what he used to be.
You try to hold me back, but you're weak. A rusty trap. The time has come.
And I think that this is Batman and Bruce Wayne going at it. So it's more like that Batman and Bruce Wayne are two separate entities inside of his body or his mind. And one of them is trying to keep the other at bay, but he cannot keep Batman at bay anymore. And I think this is represented as a literal bat comes flying in through the window and it's got all red eyes and it's dark and misty almost. So it's more of a symbolic gesture as to Batman or the bat coming through the window and taking over Bruce as the vessel, you know.
The time has come.
It tries to say that Batman is more a separate entity to Bruce Wayne. There's that whole idea that Bruce Wayne is actually the mask and Batman is the true person that he is. And I think in the opening scene, that's what they're trying to say, is that he's tried to suppress that part of him for so long that he cannot keep it at bay anymore. And it's shown through that symbolic bat crashing through the window into the brain or the psyche of, or out of the psyche of Bruce Wayne and becoming Batman again. After he was defeated by the mutant leader, Batman goes back to the cave to find himself. And what does he find in the cave? He sees that bat. I don't even think the bat's real. I just think it's symbolic of him having to become the Batman again, you know, become the person that is willing to risk it all, put it all on the line. And by going into the cave and seeing that bat there, yet again, he says that he's not done with me yet.
I'm not finished yet. And you're not finished with me. You're never finished with me.
He's referring to Batman as, or the bat, as a separate thing to him, that he needs it to take control of him to become the Batman. Yeah, I think it's so cool.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
One thing that I didn't particularly like about the animation is that he totally disregards Jason Todd's death in the movie and decides to take on another Robin. Obviously, the new Robin I'll talk about later. However, he at the beginning he said never again, never will I again. But it seems as he became Batman again, he saw a need for another Robin. you know, and lots can be said for that. But I just didn't like the way he disregarded Jason. You know, he refers to Jason as soldiers, and I think it's very, I think it's very, I think it's very. It works for that version of Batman, I suppose, but I just didn't like it overall because it sets a precedence for how Batman sees his Robins as soldiers, as more disposable, I suppose. But I didn't think they meant to do that, but that's just how I felt about it.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, I'm
So you've got Batman's physical capabilities at the forefront of this film. Well, at least I think it is. It puts a lot of emphasis on the fact that he is older and not able to do the things that he once did before, like in his prime, for example.
I'm 31 years old.
I think it's shown with his fight with the mutant leader, the first one that is, where he tries to match the mutant leader toe for toe, savagery for savagery, brute strength for brute strength, saying he has to know.
Sir, you can't seriously be... He's in his prime, he'll kill you.
It's the only way I'll know.
He has to prove himself and inevitably loses. This fight shows that he is not the Batman that he used to be, and that he won't be able to fight the fights like he used to. So he is defeated by the mutant leader. He is laying there, and I think after that defeat is rather embarrassing for him, or maybe not embarrassing might not be the right word, but he's done. You know, he has accepted his death right there, right then, and he is ready to die. At this point, he isn't fighting back. He's laying there. He's getting his arse whooped, basically. He's getting beaten up with, I think it's a crowbar. He's just getting whacked and whacked and whacked with a crowbar. He is saved. Jumps in on top of the mutant leader's head, and you know she's gouging his eyes out, and he grabs her. And he's getting ready to basically whoop her ass as well. And I think that gave Batman the oomph to carry on, the will to carry on, or, you know, the need to carry on, because he's seen a Robin and he has to save them. He cannot let what happened to previous Robins happen now. And that gives him the little push he needs to carry on. So he ends the fight instantly by throwing some sort of goo pill, or, you know, like a gelatinous clay-like material pellet at the mutant leader's face, and he falls to the ground and Batman wins. The point I'm making is that he had the Batmobile, which is like a giant tank anyway, so he could have just shot him with a rubber bullet and would have been done. Or he could have done that and ended a fight there. But he chose to take the 1v1, showing that he had to know if he was able to do it or not. Just speaks to his hubris at that point. Eventually, Batman comes to terms with his limitations. He takes on his new Robin. Maybe that he needed that to rejuvenate him, to make him feel like he was the Batman of old, inspiring him to carry on as he inspires the younger generations. And I think that might have been what they were trying to do with that, giving him a reason to be the Batman he once was before, teaching the new Robin, teaching the new generation. So if you've watched the film, you know the second fight. What a fight. Batman knows his limitations this time and knows he needs an advantage. So he lures the mutant leader into the mud and absolutely destroys him. You know, he breaks his arms, breaks his legs. He embarrasses him in front of all of his gang, all of his goons, and just ends his reign as their leader there and then. And it's fucking epic.
You finished, old man. You don't get it, son. This isn't a mud hole. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon.
So the US government, or the governments of the world, decided that the Justice League was basically a mockery and that they couldn't stand for them anymore. So an agreement was struck that the members would disband and they would return to their respective homes. So, you know, like Aquaman go to Atlantis, Wonder Woman goes to, was it Earth Themyscira, Batman would off to Gotham, I guess.
Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on.
And Superman would be the only one that they would keep. And, you know, he would be their lapdog, basically. The only person that it's suggested, anyway, that the only person is Green Arrow. And in that fight with the US government, he effectively lost an arm. And in my head canon, I like to think of it as Superman's the one that maimed him to stop him from being Green Arrow again. You know, because if you take away his arm, how can he be Green Arrow? He can't. It's a struggle, you know. And I think it's really, in my headcanon, that is, you can see it happening in this film, you know. It doesn't outright say that that's what happened, but in my head, that's what happened. So the government use Superman like their lapdog. So, you know, he fights in their wars for them, end conflicts. He's shown picking up tanks, throwing them, destroying ships, all that kind of thing in the name of the big USA. And, you know, the president is in there, and this, I can't remember his name now, but it's obviously a previous president who's in control. Yeah, the name escapes me now. However, whenever there's a conflict, they send him in. And as soon as rumors of Batman returning and fixing Gotham, the US government, or the president, basically is gearing up Superman to say, like, hey, listen, mate, you're gonna have to take care of this for me. I don't even think Superman wanted to do that. You know, he wants to leave Bruce alone. You know, they could be considered like friends here. However, he knows that he has to do what they say. And if the whole movie, the whole two films, but the whole comic book, the whole two films leading up to an intense battle between Batman and Superman, and it doesn't disappoint. So, in the film, Superman is weakened by a nuclear explosion, which shows like a unique power that he has in this, where he can absorb the nutrients or the sunlight, whatever you want to call it, from the surrounding plants, you know, because he is like a sunlight battery. And after he's hit by the nuke, he needs that to regain some of his strength. Batman knows that it's time to fight Superman because he has been weakened by this nuke. He wouldn't be able to go toe-to-toe with him knowing this. Well, he doesn't exactly go toe-to-toe, but you know what I'm saying. So Batman knows that now is the time to strike, and he even mentions the fact that he knows that Superman stopped the nuke in the film somewhere, I think it is, because Gotham gets hit with an EMP and the generators don't come on, so they know that he stopped it. And so that's when he starts gearing up. It wouldn't be Batman without talking about how he prepared to fight Superman. And mainly, he prepared to fight Superman in two ways. One was the mechanical suit. Listen, this mechanical suit is fucking awesome. It looks like, if you haven't seen the film, and if you have seen the film, you'll know, oh yeah, that's it. You know, armored Batman from the Dark Knight. So this suit increases strength and protects him from attacks that would fucking kill a normal person, obviously. And it's awesome. It's just fucking awesome, you know. I think Zack Snyder used it as inspiration. Well, I know he used it for inspiration and he's Batman v Superman, but that's a load of shit. The suit's the best thing about that film. Everything else in that film is just shit. Second way that Batman prepared is with a kryptonite arrow. The kryptonite arrow is fired straight at Superman, and he catches it and inhales the kryptonite fibers, the kryptonite dust, whatever you want to call it, and it was fired by none other than Green Arrow. Like, come on, could it have been any better? Could it have been a better person to fire that and defeat Superman?
What are you doing? Do you want me to kill you?
Oh, you're not going to kill me. Now! It wasn't easy to make, Clark. It took years and cost a fortune. Luckily, I had both.
He's down here!
You're feeling it now, aren't you? What the rest of us live with every day. Your own mortality. Don't worry, you'll survive. The kryptonite will work its way out of your lungs soon enough.
Bruce, your heart.
But I didn't have to go easy on you. A different binding agent, a stronger mix. I want you to remember that. I wanted to remind you to stay out of my way. In all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
Bruce!
Once and for all kind of thing. I don't think it could be with fucking poetic, you know. If you haven't seen it before and that's the first time you watched it, you would probably sit there going, fuck, you know, like, look at that. There's two ways to look at this fight. The first way probably is what everybody thinks of it like, and it's basically as a warning, you know. Batman fakes his own death and says to Superman, basically, don't come after me. I've done you once, I can do you again. I'm the only one on the planet who's got the capabilities to do it. So yeah, you could look at it like that, you know, take it at face value, do what you want with that, you know, that's your opinion, yeah. However, I think there is a better way of looking at it. The other way you can look at it is the fact that Batman is giving Superman an out. He knows that Superman has to do what the president says, and Batman's not stupid. He knows that Superman, if he doesn't finish him off, he'll send somebody else, or he'll have to keep coming for him until inevitably Superman has to kill him, right? Which Superman being a murderer in this is crazy, and you know he probably kills loads of people in this movie. But anyway, so yeah, he gives Superman a way out of ever having to come after him again. You know, by faking his own death, everybody believes that Batman is dead and that Superman finally put an end to Batman. So that gives him an out. At the end of the movie, Superman knows that Batman's alive. You know, they show the old heartbeat thing, and the heartbeat in the animation isn't explained well. In the comic book, he's lying in the coffin, basically, it's suggested, because he talked about that Robin told him that Superman now knows that you're alive. And it's because his body is under the ground, I guess. And they don't say that in the animation, you know. You just have to guess that. And maybe I'm thick, but I had to think about it. The fact that Batman gave him an out, he doesn't need to come after him. He doesn't want to come after him because he knows that Batman will do what's right and what's needed, you know. Now, it wouldn't be fair to talk about Batman without talking about Joker. And this film has one of the best portrayals of the Joker that I've ever seen, and I ever will see, I guess, you know. Joker is fantastic, you know. Just everything about him, even his look. He's got that aura about him, and I couldn't quite put my finger on how he moved in the animation. You know, even in the comic book, it's fantastic, you know. But in the animation, it's really brought to life. So I went and listened to the Blu-ray because I've got it on Blu-ray. So I went and looked at the special features, and they talk about the Joker. And when they said that the Joker was based on David Bowie's look, wham! I was like, right, that's it. That's the aura. That's what I couldn't put my finger on. And once you say that, and once you hear that, you can't unsee it about the Joker in this film. And yeah, he is flirty and campy and sexual even, but it just works. So like, he's often calling Batman, my love, and he kisses Catwoman, and he does this and he does that in the film.
Act. Gotham City belongs to the Batman.
Batman, darling.
But the thing is, it's so creepy. It just works for this character in this film, and I was like, oh, chef's kiss for Joker in this one. So the Joker in this film, when Batman goes into retirement, he has no reason to carry on. You know, he's shown as a vegetable, you know, in like a coma almost, but fully awake, but has no reason to carry on until he sees Batman on the TV, and then he's back. You know, it's that theory that one of them can't exist without the other, you know, the yin and the yang. And, you know, Joker definitely cannot exist without Batman and has no reason to carry on without him. And it's very fitting that their final battle would be in the Tunnel of Love. If you look at it, you can see it's in the Tunnel of Love. And, you know, it just speaks to their relationship and how they feel about, well, how Joker feels about Batman. You know, I think in this, he really does have that affection for Batman in this film, and he's just outrageous. You know, he's a senseless killer, and he knows what buttons to push to G Batman up completely. And even the one-liners that he has in it, you know, where he gets a batarang in the eye and he's like, "Are you out of your mind?" You know,
Are you out of your mind?
no, he says you're crazy and things like that, because Batman's on edge now. You know, he ain't messing around. He's ready to take him out. And the Joker dies believing that he truly beat Batman.
Ed, say this has never happened to you before.
Shut up.
Make me. Come on, finish me. Doesn't matter. I win. I made you lose control. And they'll kill you for it. See you in hell.
He says that, or it's suggested that the Joker feels like he has won because he pushed him to the edge, and that the people will believe that he finally killed the Joker when he didn't. And people believe that in the comic books that he did, and I just don't see it. You know, he even says how he hears the voices saying that he's a murderer, and he wishes that he was. And I think that just solidifies the fact that he, even in his moment of crisis, because he's getting stabbed, he still doesn't take the Joker's life in at the end of this film. He still doesn't take his life, but the Joker finishes himself off and frames Batman, basically winning. It's just such a great end. There is one thing that I find interesting in this movie that isn't touched upon online. I think, hey, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but it's Commissioner Gordon and Commissioner Yendel. So Gordon's coming to the end of his career, and he's talking to Yendel about the Batman. And it's the sticking point between them is that they both can't agree on what to do with Batman. You know, Gordon has one final push against the mutant leaders, and Yindel was completely against the Batman. And I think it's an interesting parallel between Batman and Jim Gordon here, because Jim is coming to the end of his career and is getting ready to let go and relinquish his control as commissioner, whereas Batman is getting back into the fray. And it's a parallel, or like an opposite effect of each other. And I just think it's really interesting. You know, Jim has this whole monologue about Pearl Harbor and comparing Batman to the events of Pearl Harbor. And it really speaks to his point of view on Batman and how he sees Batman as bigger than one person's opinion. And Batman isn't worth thinking about because he's too big to change. You know, there are certain things that people cannot think about, and he is one of them because he is too big. He he is a necessary evil in this world. And it will make sense what I'm talking about if you've seen it, because he basically says that the events of Pearl Harbor may have been allowed, like a conspiracy theory that, I think it's Nixon, maybe Nixon, allowed the events of Pearl Harbor to happen so that they could get into the war. And he suggests that Batman is like that. He cannot think, it's too big for one person to judge, like as in judging Nixon's decision, if that is the case or whatever. That Batman's too big to judge. And I think it's excellent. It's an insight into Batman that I haven't seen before from Commissioner Gordon personally. And it's just such a good representation of not the man, but the idea of Batman, because it isn't just about one man. It's about the idea of Batman being too big to judge. And I just think it's just so interesting. I hope you've enjoyed listening to what I'm saying. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but let us know what you think. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, things that I might have missed, let us know. Like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.